In this I'm going to show you Edit Transform. This is where you go to rotate and scale. I'm also going to show you Free Transform as well. So I'm going to pick this image. Put that over there. Okay. Go to Layers. And I'm going to duplicate it. Now to Layer. Edit, Transform. If I want to scale it, I could drag from this corner and just scale it in that way. Hit Control-Z or Command-Z to undo. If I hold down Alt and Shift, I can shrink it from all four sides at the same time. So I'm going to undo that. That's my cancel. Also Edit, Transform, Rotate. So if you want to rotate the image, that's where you would go to do it. I'm going to undo that. This is where I go to accept it. I'm going to show you Edit, Transform, Skew. That's going to move 2 points like that, almost shearing it, like italicizing it. I'm going to undo that. Edit, Transform. This is where you could also flip it horizontally or vertically. I'm going to undo that. Now I'm going to show you Edit, Free Transform. This I could rotate and scale at the same time if I wanted to. So I'm going to undo that. So another useful feature is Edit, Free Transform. If I hold down the Command or the Control key and I pick a specific point, I can transform just one part of the image. So if you had a photo that wasn't perfectly straight and you wanted it to look straight, this is what you would do to do it. Hold down Control or Command with the Free Transform tool and pick your point. You could hold down Shift to lock it straight up or down, or just do it by hand. And you see it starts to warp the image if that's what you want, or you could also use it to straighten out an image that was shot at a little bit of a perspective. I'm going to click OK to accept that. Also, I'm going to show you the Burn and Dodge tool. Dodge lightens an image. So I'm going to do a pretty big brush, no hardness. I'm going to lighten up this area back here. This is your exposure. That's about half a stop. If I crank it up to 100, you'll get a very drastic result. The image starts lightening up a lot. That's the midtones. You do the highlights. You won't see it as much because it's dark, so I'm going to change it to shadows. Now you're really seeing it. The more exposure you change, the more drastic your result. So I'm going to, that's the Dodge tool, that lightens up. You can pick your shadows, midtones. So I'm going to pick my shadows, lighten up the shadows. You're going to see some noise because I did a large exposure. That's just for you to see it. The Burn tool darkens parts of the image. So you could also, once again, pick your midtones, shadows, highlights, and the amount of your exposure. So I'm going to darken around his face just to show you that. Click and drag. And you can darken just that part of the image. That's Burn and Dodge. Dodge lightens, Burn darkens, and you can always pick your shadows, midtones, highlights, and the amount of exposure. So that's going darker or lighter, depending upon what tool you're using. And then finally, the feature of Photoshop that's most often misused is your filters. Now I showed you the useful ones down here for color correction, and they're always good to know. But some of the useful ones up here are blur. You can go Edit, Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. You can choose how much you want to blur the image. So that's useful if you have a collage and you want the person in the background to be blurred a little bit more than the one in the front. So I'm going to duplicate this. I'm going to put him in the front. I'm going to move him over here. I'm going to move this guy over there. Layer mask. I'm just going to quickly use my lasso with 5 pixels. I'm holding down Alt so I can get my anchor points where I want them. Just click and click. Then each time you click, holding down Alt, you get a different anchor point to start off of. And you just click and drag to get the softer curves like that. Okay, so now you can see I want the one in the background to be in focus, and I'm going to make the one in the foreground blurred. Set your eyes drawn to the one in the background instead. Just a small, soft, subtle thing you could do to add some depth to your shot. Other effects you could try, I'm going to go to the background one that's not blurred. Artistic. When you choose the artistic features, a whole pop-up window will pop up, showing you all the different options. Each option has its own preferences over here. So number of levels, you can increase or decrease it, sort of like the Obama posters, that's cut out. Dry brush, change all your settings over here, preview them over there. Film grain, like I said, the possibilities are endless, but just watch how you use or misuse your effects for the way that you want to create this. So I'm going to hide this, use this cutout. This mode, it's a grayscale image, but I'm working RGB. So I'm going to make a new layer on top of it. I'm going to make it red. I'm going to fill the entire layer. If preserve transparency was selected, if I had any transparency, that would be preserved. Now if I change my blending mode to color, just the color goes over and you still get the tones. It's a nice way of getting a duotone or sepia toned effect. That's a quick overview of burn, dodge, as well as the effects palette, the effects filters in Photoshop.